you put in weeks of efforts to assemble the ideas that you believe in. Assemble the stories, the photographs, illustrations, interviews you believe in. Basically a magazine that you believe in. Then your magazine goes to the printers and you believe that once it's on stands, it's going to set conversation on fire. It's going to be the talk of town. And then a month later, you receive a thick envelope. And the envelope is filled with sheaves of mastheads of your magazine. So basically what your distributor has done is cut out the mastheads of your magazine, and he has sent those mastheads to you basically as relics of your astounding failure, and the remaining part of the magazine gets sold as scrap. So much for your effort. So that's one story. And the other story is that in spite of the month after month of unsold copies, failure, year after year of failure, we are still here, Kindle magazine, on its 5th anniversary. So Pritha, the editor of the magazine and the woman behind this failure, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, my thoughts are very, very exuberant, Shayan, at this moment, and I do agree that there are reasons to be cynical, there are reasons to be heartbroken at times, but at this juncture, all I want to do is just celebrate. And what we have achieved through all these years, through this long journey of 5 years, is something which truly tantalizes all my senses, because we've defied every kind of practical logic to have survived for this long. And which also brings me to the subject of this month's issue. It's called Learning to Heed Our Senses. And this issue basically talks about our very 5 basic senses through which we mediate the world around us, through which we try to understand and interpret the world. But through all these years of doing a certain kind of journalism, through opening our minds to a certain kind of knowledge, we realize more so every passing day that these senses are often lying to us. You know, we are unable to hear certain sounds because those sounds are being drowned out by the kinds of enormous noise that we are producing around us. We are unable to see certain sights because we are blinded by the brightness of flashing lights that we have surrounded ourselves with. So this issue then is an exercise to reclaim our senses. These stories inside the issue tell us the importance of standing on top of a mountain peak, and the importance of hearing the silence then, and not the noise which we hear from the portable world that we carry with ourselves on our cell phones. So that's about the issue, that's about the broader sense of the issue. And let me also speak a little bit about the cover. You know, the cover has a very special artist featured on it, and it's the name of the artist is Alejandro Garcia Lemos. He's a Colombian artist, and he's done this panel which is titled 5 Senses. And in here, each of these panels, when put together, it reads, and there are inscriptions on these panels which read "Make Sense." So these panels feature 5 different males from 5 different races, and how each one of them is playing with a symbolic sensuous body part of theirs. So how they are trying to negotiate their sensuality. So this is about the cover, and let's go to some of the stories, and Nidhi is here, and Nidhi has done a beautiful story, so speak about it.
Of course. So while we were working on this issue, I heard the lyrics of this very nice Daft Punk song somewhere, and that's what triggered me to write this piece. And the lyrics went like, a room within a room, a door behind a door. Touch, where do you lead? I need something more. Tell me what you see. I need something more. So my story touches a memory, is basically a travelogue of this young girl who's just moved to Mumbai, and how she's trying to negotiate her space among the broken buttons, the discarded and stolen fall leather bags, the forgotten booklets. And as she's trying to negotiate her space, conjecturally she's also trying to explore relationships that in her life, that of her father, her husband, her lover, and what their touch could imply. So as she's trying to explore these relationships, she is exploring what the senses behind them could be. So this basically my story is turned into the result is a very sensuous piece which captures varied emotions, psychological state of mind, and the result is a mix of cool and tender.
Yeah. So basically, in the magazine we have a mix of personal narratives like the story by Nidhi, and then there are also very important macro narratives, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
All these macro narratives are raising some very critical questions. Some of these questions, they see in this whole process of reclaiming our senses, What is also important to realize is, are we losing something in this process? What are we losing? Do we deny ourselves science and technology? Is there a gap between science and ethics? And if there is a gap, how do we bridge that gap? So these and a lot of other critical questions are being raised. Also, how do we negotiate our way through this ever-expanding capitalistic universe?
Absolutely. Like for instance, under the section of taste, we have an essay on the food security bill. So much talk is being raised about nuclear armament and Kudankulam, but what about a very black and white issue like food security in a country where malnutrition levels equal almost some sub-Saharan countries? Then under the section of sight, we have this essay called X-Ray of a Fascist. Now, who's this fascist? You need to find out from the magazine. Then there are photo essays also. There's this one photo essay about the single screens and how they are vanishing in the city of Bombay. This particular photo essay is set in Bombay. Of course, single cinemas are shutting across the entire country. So we have essays on changing urban topography and so much more. Then there are some very important interviews also. For instance, the one that you've done with Professor Chomsky.
Yes, Professor Chomsky spoke to us back in 2011, the March of 2011, and at that point in time, the Arab Spring was unfolding and he spoke at length about it. This time we were fortunate enough that he spoke once again to us, but through a very brief window, and that too over email. But once again, during this period, when that revolution has collapsed, when we are looking at its failure, Chomsky once again comments on the situation. So it's a very interesting read. And I would also recommend the interview with Anand Gandhi, which Shayan has done, which is a very long interview and speaks at length about the Ship of Theseus.
Yeah. Now, Ship of Theseus is a film which is sort of defying all box office convention because it's releasing in new theaters every week, in new cities every week. And in this particular interview, Anand opens up new vistas for reading Ship of Theseus. And he talks about the evolution of beauty. And what really struck me was the fact that a film that explores some very philosophical paradoxes also tells a very neatly carved out story. So that is Ship of Theseus. Then there are some interesting pieces on from sports as well. There's one essay which talks about doping, but not from a moralistic lens. How doping can open up new paradigms of debate is what we are talking about in that particular piece under the section taste. So there are lots of other features also in the magazine. We have our regular columns on books, cinema, music, and as Pritha already said, that this is a double issue, which means that it is 136 pages long. And as we are doing this video, we just read online that in Delhi today, onions are selling at 100 rupees a kilo, and we are offering you 136 pages of Kindle's anniversary issue for just 50 rupees. So all of us hope that you're going to buy the magazine, and we are going to be here next year as well on our 6th anniversary. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening.